Russian radio stations hacked. Fake Putin message announcing invasion of Russia broadcast. The Voice, very similar to President Putin's, also announced martial law, general mobilization, and the evacuation of civilians in 3 regions bordering Ukraine. Several Russian radio stations were hacked and played a fake President Vladimir Putin speech announcing an invasion from Kiev's troops and emergency measures in 3 regions bordering Ukraine, the Kremlin said Monday. The hacking comes amid several reported incursion attempts and intense shelling in southwestern Belgorod, and as Kiev says, it is preparing a long-expected counteroffensive. The fake message, still circulating on social media, said that Ukrainian troops armed to the teeth by NATO and with Washington's consent and support have invaded the Kursk, Belgorod, and Bryansk territories. This was indeed a hack. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov was cited as saying by state-run agency, RIA Novosti. Control has already been restored. The Belgorod Region Administrative Center said the message was a deep fake aiming to sow panic among peaceful Belgorod residents. The Voronezh region neighboring Belgorod also warned its residents of a hacking of radio broadcasting frequencies and said there is no cause for concern. The Mir radio station said the hacking, which it called an absolute fake and a provocation, had lasted around 40 minutes. Fake Putin announces Russia under attack as Ukraine goes on offensive. The apparent deep fake comes as Ukraine says it is going on the offensive to take back occupied territory. Hackers broadcast a fake emergency televised appeal from a computer-generated Russian President Vladimir Putin declaring martial law after Ukrainian troops crossed into Russian territory, the Kremlin told state media on Monday. A number of radio and television stations in border regions aired the message, purportedly from the country's commander-in-chief. On screen, a realistic-looking Putin declared that a full-scale mobilization would begin in preparation for all-out war with Ukraine, while urging citizens to evacuate their homes and seek safety further inside Russia. Today, at 4 a.m. this morning, Ukrainian forces, with the support of Washington, entered the territory of Kursk, Belgorod, and Bryansk regions, the broadcast said, announcing a mass call-up of eligible men to defeat the dangerous and perfidious enemy. Fake posts purporting to come from real figures are an increasing risk in an AI-influenced world, said Colonel Philip Ingram, a former British military intelligence officer and NATO planner. In war propaganda, deepfakes delivered in a convincing way for military or political effect. They're an expected weapon, but they can be very convincing. The apparent cyber attack comes after a spate of cross-border raids by pro-Ukrainian fighters under the banner of the Legion of Free Russia and the Russian Volunteer Corps, said to be Russian citizens intent on fighting against Putin's rule. On Sunday, one of the groups said it had taken dozens of prisoners during one such incursion and would exchange them for captured Ukrainian soldiers. Efforts to put Moscow's forces on the back foot and force them to commit scarce manpower and weaponry defending the 1,000-kilometer shared border have escalated amid growing expectations that Kyiv will launch a major assault to retake territory occupied by Russia. Ukraine's Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar said on Monday that the country's troops are shifting to offensive actions along some parts of the front line. Meanwhile, the commander of Kiev's ground forces, General Alexander Syrsky, said his units were moving forward towards the contested city of Bakhmut. The Ukrainian side, or those acting on their behalf, is playing a clever game by using Russia's long-trialed tactics for disseminating chaos against them, said Ian Garner, an expert on Russian propaganda and author of a new book on the war. With a constant barrage of videos and news of stories that blur the line between truth and reality, pro-Ukrainian actors can keep the Russian population on their toes. Wagner's feud with Russian army escalates amid reports of not-so-friendly fire. The feud between Yevgeny Prigozhin and the Kremlin's military leaders appears to be boiling over again. The feud between the mercenaries of the Kremlin-connected Wagner Group and the ordinary Russian army appears to be escalating amid reports of exchanges of friendly fire. Russian soldiers shot at Wagner paramilitaries near Bakhmut, the eastern Ukrainian town which has seen brutal attritional battles for territory, destroying a truck, the mercenary group claimed Sunday evening. In response, Wagner claimed to have detained the commander of the Russian Army's 72nd Brigade on Monday, releasing a video of him appearing to confess to giving the order to fire on the mercenaries' vehicle, claiming he did so while drunk because he personally disliked the group. The officer, who introduced himself as Lieutenant Colonel Roman Gennadievich Venovitin, appeared to have been roughed up by his captors. The video came after Wagner released a statement signed by a commander of the group stating that he had received information that members of the official Russian army had been seen mining the roads in the rear zone of Wagner's positions around Opytnoye and Ozaryanovka, two towns in the Bakhmut area, on May 17. Wagner forces began clearing the mines from the roads but had to stop after coming under small arms fire from a Russian army brigade in Semigorje, a town about 20 kilometers south of Bakhmut, the statement said. No one was injured in the attack, which destroyed a service truck, according to the Wagner statement. Politico has not been able to independently verify this information. The incidents appear to be an escalation in Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin's ongoing dispute with Russian military leaders, including Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, and Chief of the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces, Valery Gerasimov. Russian oligarch turned warlord Prigozhin has repeatedly accused the Kremlin's high command of withholding ammunition from Wagner forces fighting in Bakhmut, which has seen some of the fiercest fighting of the war. 2 weeks ago, Prigozhin said his troops had started handing over their positions in Bakhmut to the Russian military, 5 days after claiming that Wagner controlled the city, which Kyiv has disputed.